Hello, math class. Miss Johnson is in Austin at the moment, and you have the wonderful substitute Mrs. Ryder helping you out for today. Make sure that you have a calculator, and you have string, and you have markers of some kind. So I will let Mrs. Ryder pause it right now to make sure that you have those three things: calculator, string, and markers. All right, today we are going to be measuring circles. So you are going to turn to page 484 in your textbook. Turn to page 484 in your textbook. All right, so now you're at page 484. You're going to see some circles on there, and you're going to take your string and lay it around the circumference of the 5 different circles that are on page 484 and 485. So you put the string, lay it around the circumference of the circles one at a time, and you're going to mark the string wherever it ends. So for the small circle, you put the string around as much as you can, and so then you mark the end. And then you go to the next circle, which is a little bit bigger, put your string around the circumference, and then mark on the string where it ends. Then go to the third circle. Take your string, put around the circumference, and then you're going to mark on your string. So when you're done measuring all 5 circumference on the circles, you should have 5 marks on your string. All right. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to measure that string with a ruler on the centimeter side. So you're going to record the measurements from each string. So you're going to measure the string, and where the mark is, you are going to say how many centimeters that is. So you should have 5 different measurements. So look where you mark the string and measure each mark and how many centimeters that is. And then take those measurements and record it on page 484 under the circumference column. So I'm going to make sure that you guys pause here, or pause whenever you need to, so that you can understand what you're supposed to do. Okay, on page 486 is where you're going to record the findings. Right here on the circumference, this is where you're supposed to mark, where the string is marked. This is where you put those findings. So for circle A, wherever the string is marked, and you measure it with your ruler on the centimeter side, that is where you would put this for circle A. You would put the circumference here. For circle B, you put the circumference here. As you go on down the column. And then you put in the radius and the diameter for each of the circles. So you have to measure that as well. So you have to measure the diameter. And that's what I would do first. So measure the diameter and then divide it by 2 to figure out the radius. So measure the diameter, divide by 2, and then figure out the radius. So after you have all three, the radius, the diameter, and the circumference for each one of the circles, then you fill in this last column. This last column says circumference divided by diameter. So you take the circumference, whatever number that is, and then you divide it by the diameter, whichever number that is. And then you put your answer here in this column. So you take the circumference, divide it by the diameter, and then put it in this column. And do that for all 5 circles. Okay, so now we're going to be ready to compare our findings. So hopefully all of you have been able to measure your circumferences, figured out what the circumference divided by the diameter is, and everything that is in this table here is all filled out. So now we're going to compare the findings from the table. I want you to average the answers in the last column. So in the last column, you should have 5 different answers. Add them all together and then divide by 5, and then I want you to write that down right here under number 7 on page 486. Average the answers in the last column. Then what you're going to do is compare your answer to your classmate's answer. So you guys are going to have to volunteer what your answer is for question 7. Now, why don't you discuss why everyone did not get the same answer? Because that'd be kind of hard to do for everybody to have the exact same answer. So talk amongst yourselves, or talk with Mrs. Ryder to figure out, why would you not get the same answer? Now average all of your answers to question 7. So just take a general amount. So generally speaking, your answers should be averaging out to a certain number, and we're going to talk about that. All right, so what is pi? Look on page 490. Look on page 490. So what symbol is used to represent the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the diameter of a circle? Well, it is pi. You guys have heard of pie, and not the kind that you eat. We're not talking about that. We're talking about pi, which is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the circle's diameter. So that means pi is equal to circumference of a circle divided by the diameter of a circle. Or, here's the symbol for pi. Pi is equal to capital C, which stands for circumference, and lowercase d, which stands for the diameter of a circle. The number pi has an infinite number of decimal digits. That means that it goes on and on and on, and they never repeat. It goes on forever and ever. But we do use some approximations. We say that, in math, we say that pi is going to be equal to 3.14, or we can say that pi is 22 divided by 7. So that's about what we say pi is in order to solve math problems. All right, so looking at page 490, let's figure out number 1. Use this information to write a formula for the circumference of a circle where d represents the diameter of a circle and c represents the circumference of a circle. So think about how to write the formula. Okay, we'll pause right there for just a second. All right, so the answer is C is equal to pi d. That's the formula for the circumference of a circle. Capital C, which represents circumference, is equal to pi times the diameter. Okay, so let's rewrite this formula for the circumference of a circle, where r represents the radius of a circle and c represents the circumference of a circle. So pause here and see, how should we rewrite this formula so that it uses r instead of d? What are we going to have to do? There we go. So those of you who said, well, the radius is twice, well, it's half the diameter, so we're going to have to multiply by 2. Well, you're absolutely correct. If you're going to use radius instead of diameter, you're going to have to say that c is equal to 2 pi r. So that's the number 2 times pi times the radius. All right. Number 3. The diameter of a circle is 4.5 centimeters. Compute the circumference of the circle using the circumference formula. Let pi be equal to 3.14. All right, so now we're going to put the circumference formula in and use it. We're going to use actually the formula. We are given that the diameter is 4.5 centimeters. So we have to figure out what letter should we replace with 4.5. What letter should we replace with 4.5? And we're talking about diameter. So since we're talking about diameter, I think we're going to use this formula, because this formula has diameter in it. And I'm going to take the D, which represents the diameter, and I'm going to substitute it for 3.14. So I'm going to say, I'm going to substitute it for 4.5. So 4.5 times pi, which is 3.14, is going to equal something. And so I want you to figure that out. Use your calculators. There we go. So we used the diameter formula. We said that C is about, or approximately, that's what that little wavy line means, approximately 4.5 times 3.14, and that is approximately 14.13 centimeters. 14 13/100 centimeters. Okay, so let's practice some more. So let's look at number 3 on page 490. And it says here, okay, it looks like I copied the same one, so let's go ahead and skip number 3 here and go to number 4. So 4 says the radius of a circle is 6 inches. Compute the circumference of the circle using the circumference formula. Let pi be equal to 3.14. So let's think about what we're going to use. We're given the radius, so I wonder which one we should use. Should we use the formula that has the diameter, or should we use the formula that has the radius? If you said radius, you are correct. So that means that we're going to have to do C is equal to 2 times pi times r, and that means that C is approximately 2 times 3.14 times 6, and that's approximately 37.68 inches, or 37 68/100 inches. Okay, so I'll let you do number 5 on your own, and let's see what you come up with. Here we go. C is equal to D times pi. We are given the circumference this time. So we have to put in 65.94 in place of C is about D times 3.14. Now, because you know how to do 1- and 2-step equations, in order to isolate the variable, since this is multiplication here, we have to use division. So we divide both sides by 3.14, and then you get that D is approximately 21 feet. Go ahead and repeat this if necessary so that you understand how to do the 1-step equation here. All right, number 6. The circumference of a circle is 109.9 millimeters. Compute the radius of the circle using the circumference formula. Let pi equal 3.14. All right, so we're going to use the circumference formula that has the radius in it. Okay, and so let me show you what that looks like. I will let you do it on your own first, see what you come up with, and then Ms. Ryder will press play to see the answer. All right, so C is equal to 2 pi r. We are given the circumference, so we replace the 109.9 with the C at the beginning, is about 2 times 3.14 times r. Well, once again, we're going to use a 1-step equation here. We're going to combine the like terms first, 2 times 3.14, and then we take that answer and we divide both sides by that answer, and you will get 17.5 millimeters. Okay, on to number 7. What is the minimum amount of information needed to compute the circumference of a circle? I'll pause here and you guys can discuss. Alright, to compute the circumference of a circle, I must know the length of the radius of the circle or the length of the diameter of a circle. That is what you need. Okay, so now it is time to tweet, and here are the 3 different questions. If you can take out your device and you can put it in today's Meet, or you can go get the tweet cards at the front of the room and put it in the gold bag. Well, I have enjoyed speaking with you guys, and hopefully you have learned about pi. I will talk with you tomorrow.